What up? Welcome to Homegrown Hustle, where local brilliance takes the center stage. I'm your host, Matt Eichmann. Together, we're about to embark on an inspiring journey. Our community thrives on the wisdom of insightful leaders that are right here in our backyard. And we're bringing their expertise to your ears. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or simply seeking inspiration, this podcast is your guide. Join us every week in celebrating innovation, guidance, and the power to inspire greatness. Let's explore the stories that shape our local business landscape, and together, let's ignite the spark of excellence. What's up? Welcome to the Homegrown Hustle. I'm Matt Eichmann. I'm here with Sarah Jensen, the CEO of Lumos Host. She's been a chief marketing officer within the mortgage industry for, I believe it was a law firm, correct? And she recently made a change over into coaching and e-learning, and she's got a lot of moving parts, and she supports a lot of different teams from a marketing standpoint. So I'm really excited about this one. I love marketing myself. So Sarah, go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit and tell us specifically about how you're working within the Minneapolis Twin Cities market right now.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me. As you had mentioned, I spearhead all things marketing for the real estate industry. One of my business partners, Teresa, actually calls that home. So predominance of our clients are out in that area, and it has been valuable to learn as much as I can from these guys. And it's anywhere from a realtor to an investor to a broker to an innkeeper, up in Duluth. So really what we focus on is marketing and applying it into real estate. And that can look like a bevy of things, anything from being a realtor and helping people find their homes to expanding on that skill set and seeing where they can find themselves maybe in a community. That's been really great for us. So I just try to help by being that partner to the business owners and saying, here's your path. Here's what it looks like. You have this dream, you have this goal. This is the marketing path.
I mean, marketing is such a driver of every business out there, and people think about it a lot of different ways, right? So from your perspective, or your experience rather, how are people thinking about marketing when they first start that conversation with you, and what are some of the new directions, or maybe it's just focus that you have to help them get to continue along that journey and actually have success there?
100%. I could almost script the exact
All right,
things
hit
that
me with
people
some
say
of
when
them.
they come up to you. It's it's always like, I really need help. I need to be on social media. I just need to be on social media. We need to make a following. I need you to help me get there, or it's, I need a logo. I think someone said I need a logo. Do you think I need a logo? I'm not sure if I need that. It's usually the entry point. My favorite is I need SEO. I need SEO, and I'm not sure that they'll have a whole lot of understanding beyond that. And so it's kind of like a doctor, right? If you come in and you have an ailment and they say, I'm here because I have a cold. But maybe what you really have is something far worse, and this is just a symptom, and that's a dark direction to go there because it's usually a fun thing that I'm figuring out. It's like, oh, I need social media. But maybe that's not what you need. Maybe what you need is a brand, and you need to find the direction and the human that you're trying to attract. Who's your target demographic? What are you trying to say? What's your unique selling position? And once we unfurl that, it's really just it's a longitudinal kind of goal, right? And you're looking at things in sequential order. So I like to stack it, and usually people, like I'd mentioned, they'll come in at SEO or social media, but they need to be here where brand is. They need to be understanding of their unique selling position. They need to figure out where they need to be in the market, and that takes a lot of testing. And marketing is data.
Absolutely.
Is really all that it is. It's going to shine a light on whatever it is you're already doing, because now I'm getting a larger sample of the population to have eyes on what you're doing and give feedback. And we take it a step further by helping them pivot when we do get that feedback.
So I guess the question that comes to mind when I hear you say that, they're coming and they've already got to the point where they are convinced that this is a need in in their business somewhere. So I need social media. I need a logo. Like, why are people thinking about that? Because that's like one of the steps they have
I
to
think it's
think
a
about.
multi.
But like, at what point are like you can only think about so many things, right? So focusing on the right things at the right time to be able to build and do anything of lasting value, it just has to happen at some point. So why is it like what are they thinking about that
Yeah.
it's a I need?
So I like to think of it as there's really three reasons people come to me. And it's because
Mm,
they have a new business, because they have a growing business and they need to figure out scalability, or because they have
mm,
a failing business. So it's either problems, growth, or new. And a lot of the time, with the new, they think they need everything. And marketing can be
they're like trying to
intimidating.
check
And
boxes.
they're not, they've heard, yeah,
Hmm.
they've heard what they need. So that one, they're just like, it's an onslaught and they feel stressed out. And I like to support people in starting their dream. And if this is your
Hmm.
roadblock, let me take it out of your way. Hurdle gone is really the support. But when they're hurting, then the reason that they want social media isn't because I think I need social media. It's I am hurting. I don't have eyes. I can't get bookings for my short-term rental, or I can't find any clients. I don't know where to find investors if I'm looking for that person at Target. And they're grasping, and they want marketing to figure it out. And it 100% can. But you have to really understand fully why there is a failure, because like I had mentioned, marketing
Hmm.
is just a spotlight.
You're capturing attention or trying to like win somebody's attention when they can focus on whatever the heck they want nowadays. So
Yeah.
you ask a lot of questions, it sounds like, to have to like peel back all those layers, right? So like what are some questions that like if somebody listening is kind of in one of those I need to do fill in the blank marketing item, like what questions could people ask themselves to kind of start peeling some of those layers back themselves?
I like to start with the who, what, where, when, why,
Okay.
right? And I will go through every one of those questions and make sure they know it. And then at the end, I'll say, all right, we're in an elevator. Pitch it to me. What do you do? Say it in one sentence. So I start with, give me a book. You know, who are you? Who are you talking to? Who are you trying to attract? And then what does
Hmm.
your business do? What is the ethics or the mission statement behind your business? Why are you
Hmm.
doing it? Why does the demographic need it? Right? All of these questions are so important. What sets you apart? What makes you unique? What's the selling position that you have that guy, that Dan down the
Hmm.
street doesn't have? What makes Jason so great? That kind of thing. And I'll ask them, because if you don't know, why would anyone else?
Interesting. So, okay. So I could like really nerd out on all this, but like I want to back it up a little bit before we keep going that way. Like let's talk a little bit about like how you got to like how you started CEO, like or excuse me, how you became the CEO of Lumos Host and like what was the kind of journey that you went through in starting your own business?
Oh man, I was in recruiting and I really hated my drive. It was about an hour and a half there
Mm,
and back. And it gave me a lot of time to think. And I happened to start recruiting for marketing individuals. And I remember just saying, I really love this. Like, I love all of this. Like, I love events. I like design. I like talking, and I just felt like everything that I loved was put into this tiny little ball of creativity, and I could not be more excited. I think all of this started when yeah, man, I got this recruiter who called me and said that this guy he's not looking at, your background or anything. He wants you to sell him an orange. He wants you to make an advertisement to sell him an orange. He wants you to talk to him about selling him an orange. And he had 300 or 400 of these like candidates bringing in orange pictures, and he had been doing it for far too long and just was not going to make a decision. And then I sold him an orange, and that's really what started my career. And he has been so pivotal in making me the
how'd you
human that I
sell an
am.
orange?
And
Tell me
it's
about
been
how
great.
you sold the orange.
Orange, you gonna like
Yes.
it? I had so many, I had so many funny ads that were just crude, like just ridiculous. Like it was a "Orange You Gonna Like It" ad, and I had a funny guy in the background that was kind of blurred out, but like it
Hmm.
was, you know, it was how his version of the
Yeah.
sell me a pen, and he liked the direction I went, which is what I continue to do when I was marketing for them, which was like, they were a lot of compliance towards brokers, for example. That was a big product for us. And I just, showed the headache of it, the insurmountable mountain that is compliance, and how many people
Oh
it's
my
like, well,
gosh.
if you're going to outsource something, this is it, and I like to have a direct approach to my marketing, and a
Hmm.
little bit of humor. And it did well for them. And the company really focused in, and he taught me a lot, and I, in turn provided a lot, I feel like, in that position, which gave me the
Hmm.
confidence to do this. We took that company, it was failing, to from, negative, to them giving me a $300 monthly budget, to from in 1 year to $3 million.
That's amazing. So
And
I think what's interesting
yeah,
about that, like sell me an orange, is like in the typical, I don't know, if you go like the Wolf of Wall Street, like sell me this pen, there can be like some type of engagement or interaction, right? What that was like the marketing needed to be able to make the purchase right there. And I think that that's something that's happened
yeah,
so much with like media in general nowadays. Amazon whole like 2 clicks and you got something getting shipped to your house. Like the purchase happens like really fast. So I guess the question I have for you is like when you think about marketing transitioning into a sale, like how do you make sure that that actually happens and then like the purchase can occur afterwards instead of just having a awesome ad and then people aren't quite sure what to do with it after.
I and when we were speaking before, you had mentioned, marketing is, well, that's more sales, and it's not marketing. Marketing is sales. Sales is marketing. If it's not making a sale, then it's not marketing quite
Correct.
well, or to
Yeah,
the right person, you know. And and I feel like, so when I make an ad, I ask myself two things: is what is
mhm,
what is the goal here, and can they direct purchase? So if I'm making an ad, am I trying to get them onto the phone with you? Is this a sit down sale? Like, the idea is, if something's over 2 grand, that nobody does it standing up, and no one's going to do it
mhm,
without talking to a human. There's a lot of these perceptions. If that's the case, then how do I come up with the right path? How do I nurture them? What are the questions I need to answer in order for them to make a now decision? So you have to ask yourself if that's the right process for the product. Is it an online purchase? And if you have a product that isn't, what can you provide that does
mhm,
get them to click? What can you provide that gets them to give some kind of concession, right? There is a lot of psychology, obviously, in marketing, but if you look at the consistency fallacy, if somebody says to you, like, "Oh, can I put a small sign in your front window?" Yeah, not a problem. Maybe it's for a candidate that you like. But then they come back and they say, "Hey, do you mind if I actually put this in your lawn? So like maybe twice the size." Yeah, of course, because they will keep saying yes to this, right? Because of that consistency fallacy. So if all that my ad needs to do is get in one foot
mhm.
in the door to get them to say yes, then that's what we'll do. And so when I'm putting this into, the real estate market, and as I'd mentioned, there's a bevy of different ways to enter that market. But most of these decisions are pretty big for people, and they mean a lot. And so trust is going to be my main goal. And providing information, give before you ask, is so paramount in the real estate industry. So when I create an ad, or I'm thinking about the human that's on the other end of that, I think about what questions they're asking. And then that's a huge part of what I do with a client. I say,
Mm,
Google yourself. What I mean by that is, Google the service that you think that these people need. Google what you would say. How do you say it?
interesting.
What's the question that you have? Because that's going to give the ad that you need.
Fascinating. So just under like really getting into like how the person on the other side is thinking need like that has to drive so much of the decision making in marketing anyway, right? Because like if marketing
Yeah,
is going to be sales, then we have to like have some intent and strategy behind that. We can't just like hear something or have somebody tell us we need to do something and then all of a sudden we need to do it. Like there has to be like more thought behind it, and they like it takes time to do that and really get to that strategy, not just throwing mud against the wall. Because marketing people are usually pretty good at sales and they're consistent in outreach. So you can get sold a lot of different products and you can buy them, but if you don't even understand how that's going to apply to your business, it doesn't even make sense, right? So through through the interactions you're having with your customers, you're helping them better understand their business so that they can even make money. So that it probably goes pretty deep then, if I had to wager, right? Like some of the questions that you have to ask them.
definitely. 100%. Yeah. I think oftentimes a lot of people in the
Hmm.
real estate industry, they know what they do, but they don't know what problems they're fixing. You know, I sell a house, okay, but are you selling houses to families that have to relocate? Are you selling to a divorce partner who didn't want to leave that house but needs to? Because if you know that, then maybe what I should be doing is advertising to an attorney that you can relate with and create a relationship so that you get referrals for any of
Mm.
these divorcees, right? I think oftentimes I have to tell people. I had a client, right? Very kind of all over the place, right? And I think self-declared, he would say that he was all over the place, and I had to ask him, "Can you Google what you do?" I was like, "Can you just tell me what would you Google? What would does anyone just Google financial support solutions? Like, is that somebody to have? I've never Googled that. I was like, but what's something somebody might actually Google? Is a small business going to Google tax savings, or is are they going to look up a problem that you see? You know, it's not so much about saying what you do to clients, but the problems
Hmm.
that you fix, right? Stop saying your story and make them the hero of their own story. And then show them why you're the guide. Because it isn't your story that you're marketing. You're marketing a solution to their
Well,
problem.
and that, oh, sorry, lost the AirPod there. I mean, so you're really talking about like what's that, the storyboard, like the brand story. Yeah.
Story
And I love
branding.
that,
Yeah.
but like I was like I went through that recently and I was like a little frustrated at first with all these questions because I just didn't even understand. Like I was throwing mud against the wall, hoping it stuck, but without like a quality brand, like a brand messaging, like you can have like the biggest microphone, but you're shouting the wrong thing, so people aren't hearing what you want them to hear, because it. So let's talk about defining like branding versus marketing then. Like, what is a brand, and like how do people go about
Yeah. If you think of getting
building that?
somewhere in the
Sorry,
world,
go ahead.
yeah. No, no, you're good. When you think about something like, oh, I need to get somewhere, your brand is the car, right? It's the vehicle in which you go in, and it's what everyone sees. So this is really important and paramount, and oftentimes skipped way too much because they're like, no, no,
Hmm.
I do this, yes, but how do you represent what you do? What does that look like, and how are they perceiving it? So a brand is a multitude of things. It's not just colors and a logo with a couple of fonts that you decided on. It's a voice. It's exactly the right voice that you're going to bring to the market, and they're going to say, this is what is important to my demographic, and I'm going to focus on that. So if it's a brand that is all about cabins because you have a bunch of cabins in
Hmm.
on the North Shore, right? Okay, so what are people looking for when they're going to a cabin? What is that vibe? How are you going to talk? How are you going to perceive them, and how are they going to perceive you? What are your focuses? So we have to look at, like we were saying, it's a who,
Hmm.
what, when, where, why, right? You have to go through all of those questions, and then they need to be represented in your brand. And then that brand is a guiding post for all of the work you'll do after, as well as a way to almost remove yourself from the process so that you
Hmm.
can have better scalability. If I have a full brand, the idea of my company no longer is Sarah. It is my brand. It is Lumos. I am Lumos. Lumos is me, right? But if I don't want to build all of my social media for the rest of my life, it'd be really nice for me to have a brand
Hmm.
with a brand voice, even like a perfect brand voice prompt, right? And all of the colors and logos and everything that you're going to need. now somebody else can make my business and it's going to sound
Hmm.
like my business because what I have, what I think is out of me now and it's on a piece of paper and here's how you create it. That is really, really, really important because you're going to start creating an idea of what people want and what they need and your brand should reflect it. If you've got to change it 1,000 times, change it. It's not fun, especially if you
Yeah.
do print. It's not fun, but you gotta change when you see that it's a necessity.
So you go branding then transitions to marketing goes to sales drives the revenue. So then if we're talking like cash, like how do you help people think about, okay, how much actually needs to go into here? Because marketing is not just let's check this marketing box. It's we need to grow or we need to remain present or we need to drive additional revenue or dollars somehow, right? But if you're going to do that and we're putting money into it, well, what's the math behind what we want to get out of it to measure success? That's kind of how I think about it a little bit. So, like, how do you help people kind of digest some of that thought process so that it's like actually holistic and it's thought about more than just another thing they got to do?
It is a lot of that. There's a lot of people who will just, well, I need social media. Everyone's on social media,
Hmm.
so I need it, right? Well, what do you need it for? What is what's your goal? I so what I help people understand is their KPIs, right? And a KPI is just a
Hmm.
numerical goal, right? Like it's the number that you're chasing. And I make those a reality, not just a random number, but it's data. And I will do a lot of, let's look at what our goals are and this is what's realistic and this is what the market would mark as success, right? And we will shoot for that. But then as we get into marketing more and we see the numbers and I get data back, it's all about pivoting and figuring yourself out and where you need to be. Oftentimes it's putting them on all the platforms and then seeing which ones really respond to
Like
their
A/B
their
test
content.
it almost.
What kind of content? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then what's great about it is like if you do really well on social media, for example, and you're pushing your message out and you're taking that blog and providing it in all the right chat rooms, right? You're going to see that in marketing. I'm going to see the numbers. I'm going to know what did successful for you and what didn't. And if it was successful, well, now maybe we'll put an advertising budget behind it. Maybe we'll make it
Hmm.
into a Facebook ad, that one article. And now we're going to optimize that article. And now that they're on your website, we're going to have them
Hmm.
get a free consultation. Oh, they don't want to do that. They're about to leave. Have a quick pop up that says for them to download
It's
your
like little
checklist.
experiments.
Varying
Like you have to
degrees of
like have these little
that. Yes.
experiments that you're engaged in, like the activity and what's actually going on with it. Like you can have a budget and have that be dedicated month over month at whatever that is, but if you're not actually thinking about how it's progressing over time and involved with that, a lot of the breakdown I've seen people have is there. They have this budget that they're putting into like a terrible AdWords campaign or something like that. Well, I mean, you can end up spending a lot of money and just being upset. So the whole like the intent behind marketing is so incredibly important. So, like, how do you help, like, really get down to the, okay, we've got past the branding, now we're going to go and actually build the strategy? Because you're talking about having it be a little bit longer term. And then you were just mentioning like a feedback loop and being able to pivot, as you said. Like, what's that process like? Like, what, I guess, walk me through it.
It's pretty different for each human that I work with, but it for me, what my strategies that I really focus on for real estate specifically is how can you be of service? How can you help? How many different entry points can come into the market? As we had discussed as an example, like maybe you're wanting to
Hmm.
sell a house, right? And you have this market, and you're really good at the blue collar market, and you want to figure out what the reason is that people may want to move. Well, there's this company that's growing, right? And they're bringing in people nonstop. So that's one entry point. Well, maybe I want to market to that company, to those HR humans, the people that make those decisions, that help with housing. Maybe that's one conversation I'm going to want. And then we talk about, if you want a community pays off in so many ways to have a community. And we talk about that. What are the realities of it? How do you, just like this podcast, this is your way of reaching your community. You have a podcast, that is your platform. But I want to figure that out with my client every single time. Do you want to provide content by being in a mastermind, running a mastermind? Do you want to provide content by coaching, doing a course that someone can purchase, an ebook that someone can download? How do you convey yourself? How do you put your message out there, and how do you expect people to interact with it? Because they need to. And a community creates so many opportunities. There's affiliate opportunities, there's community just in the payments, memberships, there's selling other services, mushrooming that account essentially. There's so many things that happen when you have a community, an audience that is paying attention. So you want to figure out the avenue in which to do that.
So within, I guess, real estate, like what are these different revenue opportunities that you're helping people find to like bring additional revenue in? Say, let's say for like a broker or a real estate agent.
Okay. For a broker, we usually talk about what are the Googleable moments, and and I will say that there is that divorce attorney, there is the
Mm,
first time home buyer, there's the creative financing. So maybe just for example, like when I was saying that I had a client that was a little bit lost, he was a broker. And he also found a couple of really great companies that he wanted to champion as financial resources for these guys. And he has made himself an affiliate for it. But what's great is that these all feed in each other. So it's I call it cannibalism of the market, but I'm sure it's actually got a real name for it. What I say is, like, if you look at the full ecosystem of the sale, how many different places can you interject yourself in what makes sense? If you're a broker, maybe it is helping people with credit repair. Maybe it is financial services and being an affiliate to that. Maybe it is a millennial investors group and creating a community around that, and then making it into a nonprofit where you have conferences and you have different companies that are paying you
mm,
for ICE. And the other one is creating calculators. You could create a calculator that helps people figure out what the cost might be for the first year of their
mm.
investment property. That's going to tell them all the things, not just general upkeep, but when is that AC about to go out? When was your roof repaired? All of these things are other issues or problems. Or if you're in a short-term rental, you have a short-term rental. Now maybe you have a cleaning business because you couldn't find anyone to go out to that obscure
Mm.
spot, on the east side. And that is every single one of those is a client and an actual situation
Mm.
that we have worked on. So many different ways for you to enter market. And I think the most important part is me just having candid conversations with them about what really gives them
Mm.
passion. What is their skill set, and how do I shine a light
What,
on them?
why is that the conversation?
It's hard to sell something you're not passionate about. When you really believe in something,
Hmm.
it's like all you want to talk about. It's when you find that really awesome movie and you get to watch that movie with someone who's never seen it, you're just
Hmm.
as excited to see it again and again because you get to see it or experience it with somebody. There's no faking. Have the passion and find the right path for
Because then you don't
yourself.
have to be a actor playing a script. Then it's just like the natural thing. Why do people think it's supposed to like be anything other than that like authentic
I think,
passion?
yeah, I think for the same reason that I had a
Mm.
job before this, because you're supposed to, right? You're supposed to go to college, aren't you? And then after college, you're supposed to get this job and this 9 to 5. Well, even in our own world of finding financial freedom by creating your own real estate type of investment company, or starting a brokerage, you still think, well, I have to do this, don't I? I have to do this speaking engagement, or I have to, well, do you like it? Because let's focus on the things that make you successful. When I hear somebody say to me that they're creating all the hoopla around like a nice edited video. Okay, well, maybe maybe Sharon should just go grab a coffee and turn on her screen
Yeah.
and walk while she's talking, because if she can continue to do that, then that's a better route for us, and might be perceived better because she actually enjoys doing what
Hmm.
she's doing. And then we find ways to outsource the things that you aren't enjoying so that they aren't impediments to you
Mm.
actually getting it done.
Yeah. Like you have to be able to do the things that allow it to be ongoing, especially in the age of social media, right? So with real estate, like how does social media tie into all that? Like, and what's your perspective on like people's decision making and purchasing happening at like on Google or on the search engines and going towards like those ads on social media or those different platforms?
I have a pretty strict formula for social. I like to create what I call pillars, but it's really
Hmm.
just target demographics, and I make sure I attend to each of them. So in the world of real estate, let's say there's your grabber. So first you figure out all of those different targets, right? And then you figure out a couple like
Hmm.
FAQs. Maybe you have FAQs as one pillar, as an example, and maybe another one is a new home buyer, right? Those are the two things that you're looking at. And then, we have another pillar that is divorces, because I'm going to be saying something totally different in each one of those posts because I'm attending to a target demographic and I'm thinking what they are looking for. So how do I provide that? And for me, I like meat on the bone. I like to give before I ask. So if I'm going to create a social media strategy in the real estate world, I am going to figure out how to provide resources in all of those. If you are a resource hub, you not only will that be a great thing for any of your clients because now you have all these resources because there is just so much in real estate, and if you're providing that helping hand, that's going to be great for them. That's a better experience for your customer. But additionally, you're also creating all these affiliate partners, all these referral partners, all of these people that will sing your praises just as much as you sing theirs. So if you got onto a podcast, for example, if you got into a podcast with one of your partners and maybe you're a broker and they're into taxes, right? Their thing is all about tax strategy and how much money, or if you're a huge investor, well, if you got an investment property, you could save a ton on your taxes. This is a huge strategy when you're targeting lawyers,
Mm.
doctors, and saying you could get into this industry. Here's how it looks, and there's a lot of wholesale and flippers that look at this as their market strategy is, finding those people and making or turning them into a buyer, right? And creating, or what I call converting, them
It's
into a
it,
client
yeah, it's
by
such a
finding that need.
there's so much focus that you have to be able to think through some of those things, but like I just love how you're laying it out. So as you're talking about it, I'm just thinking about like the psychology of it all. Like you're shifting from this vertical over here to somebody purchasing or somebody deciding to stay at your short-term rental or whatever it might be, right? So like how much does empathy play into that, and like the business owners or the marketing teams you talk with, like is there like they're like displacing like their own thought process or feelings around it into that message that they're putting out because there's a lack of empathy? Like I'm just trying to kind of wrap my head around that part of the psychology, I guess.
Ingenuity can't be
Mm.
faked in a lot of ways. I think it's important that you care, and I've been really lucky to have a lot of really great clients
Hmm.
that really do care. What I say is a really great practice, and we had talked about this earlier. Is like you do you know what they're googling? So if we created all of these pockets, these pillars for your social media, go into Google and think, put your hat on like them, and this is that empathy, right? Because now going back, I am Sharon and I'm getting a divorce. What am I, nobody, maybe she bought a house when, interest rates were 3% and she's getting back onto a market at 10% and she needs to figure out creative financing because she can't afford that. She's probably going to
Hmm.
Google some stuff about that. She's probably going to be looking at those things. What are the solutions here? So if I were just targeting her, there's a bevy of different ways to do that. Maybe I'm making a blog, right, and I'm putting that out there. Maybe I am doing an automation direct message campaign, and I'm asking questions. Maybe I'm going to a group and I'm finding where they might be hanging out. Maybe I'm talking to an attorney and I'm creating a referral partnership with this human because they might be able to, they're at that juncture, right? And they're helping them, just like we were saying, if you're providing to your client and you're a lawyer and now you're saying, you know what, I got this guy, he focuses on, people in this situation. We know that it's paramount for you to get some creative financing and find something similar to what you
Hmm.
had or maybe completely different. And you would speak to that because that is what is important to them. I think it's so paramount to understand and empathize, as you'd mentioned, with the direction that somebody is coming from.
So how does one like practice that? Like, how does somebody get better at that if they're going to think about marketing within their own business?
I on it, it's literally going to Google and researching it. You know what's really nice is when you start
It
typing it
gives you a
into
little pop-up.
Google, it'll actually give you like,
Hmm.
yeah, like 700 other ways to say it. It's been
Mm.
paramount for me in figuring things out. I also use
Yep.
SEMrush or Frogger. Those are SEO tactic or
Hmm.
platforms. And you can even go to Google Trends. So Google Trends is a good stand-in if you maybe don't have any of those solutions. And just look up what's popular. Look up what people are Googling. Some people had created a business, and I thought this is kind of genius. During 2020, they were always checking trends every time, just going in and checking trends. And he found out that there was like a 2,000% increase on dog beds because everybody got a dog in the pandemic. Everyone got a dog. So then he created a dog bed business. Just abracadabra, I think is, one of those, it's an abracadabra. It's a platform where you can purchase and they would, drop ship, which is just like if you make an order, then they send that and then ship it out. And so really no investment. He didn't buy a ton of beds and then sell them. He just drop shipped, took a portion, but I mean, massively successful. And
And
it
the
just blew
data
my mind,
drives that whole
all
thing. I
because he knew
mean,
what
like
people could do.
that guy's super
Yeah,
smart. That's really smart. But like he found where the attention was going, and he just created an entirely new business out of it. Sometimes like
yeah,
that might not have all the passion behind it, but he like got in between like the buyer and the the purchase. Like if you can facilitate that nowadays, you can make a lot of money. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about like once somebody's like got that figured out and they're trying to go to the next level, is it like this whole same process over again, or like what is it like? What's the conversation like at that point when they've kind of been
yeah.
scaling and now they're trying to like accelerate it or really like get through that hump, I guess.
I think scalability is a big portion of this. So, like we are saying, you
Hmm.
have three entry points, right? You got your new guy, and now we figured all their stuff out. And now, then they maybe had a problem. We figured out the problem. Now they're looking at scalability, and the biggest problem is moving yourself out of your own brand or moving yourself out of the functions of your business. Own a company. Don't
Mm.
create a job. Own a company and creating that mindset and being able to walk away is where I focus. I look at automations. I look at human resources for yourself. I look at stakeholders. I look at referral partners. And we take each piece of the business and we literally scale them out of it. It's you, and the goal has to be clear. Are you looking to grow this business? Or are you looking to sell it? Are you
Mm.
looking, do you want to be acquired? Do you want to be, what is it, what's the path? Because there's very different solutions I'm going to
And we
provide
got to know
based
where
off
we're
of your path.
going.
If you're
Like
looking for,
what we can't just be like
yeah,
so in the got to make a decision now, like thinking about our business here that we don't even know where that could potentially end up, or have it like have some strategy
yeah,
behind the decision. So marketing.
you have to think of it like, how could you sell a brand that you're super attached into? Like, how do you sell a course where you've never called what you teach a method and it's just you, it's just Matt. Maybe everything that Matt thinks is just Matt, but how do you
Mm.
sell that? That's going to be the difference of where I'm going to put my focus. Let's come up with Matt's business strategy and give it a name and brand that and then sell that. You know what I mean? Because that is how you're going to
Mm.
productize yourself. That is how you're going to move away from it. It just really, yeah, it comes down to the goal. What are you trying to do, and how can I make it simpler, and how can I make it so that you're doing only the pieces you love, not fully because I don't think any of us can get
Hmm.
away from taxes, and I don't think I've met anyone who likes it. But yeah, that's where we live, and we have to do some of those things. But I'm definitely not just, it's not rehash or
Hmm.
let's do it all over again. I take a temperature check at every juncture and say, what can we automate? What can we? Where is the time suck for you? What are you doing a lot of?
And that's like within the business itself too, right? Like, cause like if
Yeah.
that's not so much the marketing and the messaging or anything like that, it's like as like the human being, like what do you got going on in your life, and can you even handle any of these other things? Interesting. You sound like a psychologist sometimes. Like people come to you.
I have a degree in cognitive
Oh,
neuroscience, so that was my background.
thanks for throwing that one in there for me. So okay, so it all makes sense. It just came full circle. All right. So have you like is this something that you've kind of always been interested in? Like if you have a degree, like
I have so what I have a degree in, I looked at business motivation. So I was looking at what motivates humans, and then I got a certification in body language, and I was really interested in how the body says so much more than words, and oftentimes we should be listening to the body and
mm,
not the words ever. And so I felt like it was really interesting. I'd started out with sign language and had a lot of deaf friends through college, and finished out through college in that. And a lot of them talked to me about what they know from the body, what they see from the body. So then I got a certification in that. I looked at also mirror neurons and their implications into autism, which I know sounds like, how did you get there? How did you get from that to marketing, right? But what it is like, if you see someone yawn, right, you'll yawn, but you don't have any control of it. Your motor cortex is conditioned because it was seeing something, but instead of just doing it in its, in the motor cortex region, it accidentally did it, and now your
mm.
body's doing it, right? I thought that was so fascinating. I thought it was interesting that we literally mirror someone to understand it in our own brains. And I started just going down a rabbit hole, and it brought me here. I mean, motivation, psychology, body language, all of it is marketing. It was used differently from different bosses, like me being in a meeting when I was doing sales, and I've been in sales much longer than I've even done marketing. And sales is all about humans and understanding what they need and pivoting when maybe what you're saying isn't landing. And how do you know that? How would you even know if what you're saying isn't landing?
Mm.
Body language. Everything's just data and pivoting when you get it. So it's important to me to understand what to look for, both in marketing and in humans.
So what are like the metrics that you look at and monitor in marketing versus the ones you like try to drive or make decisions off of?
It's all numbers. I like to say that you got to take the
Hmm.
emotion out on this part. The
Complete
numbers have
opposite of
to tell you
everything
the
we've been
story.
talking about. No more emotion. That's out the
Yeah,
door.
yeah, right. No emotion, callous and cold. Yes, exactly. So numbers are the dictation of the emotion. They take you out of it. So maybe I think that this is really landing, and I am super funny, and my memes are great. Well, so maybe not. Like, and that's kind of one of those harsh moments where I sit with a client and I show them the numbers and I say, this isn't working. This strategy isn't going well. It's a great example is a short term rental. I'll tell someone, we got to market inside there. We got to find an Instagrammable moment. Take a picture, design through the camera lens. Look at this place through the camera. And then they're like, no, no, no. Like, I really think that we just need to get some marketing. We need to get more eyes on there. I don't think that we need to do interior design, at all, pretty much. And gone are the days of IKEA being
Hmm.
the fix for your short term rental. It's not going to make you stand out. It's a saturated market now. You need to shine. So I got him all of the marketing views that he wanted. So let's say, for example, on this rental, I went over 1,000 views on
Mm.
Airbnb in 1 month. He got less, and the average. So here's where the numbers are. The average in his area is that you get about 2 to 3, usually 3%, that will actually
Hmm.
book your room. So if you have 800 views, then I need a 3% return on that. And he was less than 1%. There's your numbers. That's where now it's like, I did what you said. I got eyes.
Yeah.
It didn't work. So then there's a tougher conversation here, which is you got to design. We got to put some stuff on the walls. We got to, and we got to sell this from the camera lens. You have to look at each individual location and start designing just in what you can fix in one frame, right? Because if you put all of these general, solutions everywhere, that's
Hmm.
not the photo, and people, they just want
Hmm.
the photo. They want to go to a place and take a photo. I used to be a server at a restaurant in Hawaii, and everyone would be on their phones, no real talking. Let's say like this one group of girls, and everyone's on their phone. And then the second that one of them wanted to take a selfie and post it, I mean, they looked like they were having
Yeah.
the best time of their lives. And I was like, who are these
Crazy.
humans? Like, they weren't talking to each other at all, like at all. And now someone has a phone and
Mm.
it's just like, yay, like I'm having. Well, how do I make moments that people want to do that? How do I create those moments for short term rentals so that people want to be there? Because there's only so much marketing dollars that you can throw. It's like putting a bow on something that's just like a disaster, putting a bow on a disaster and thinking like it's a gift. It's not, this is no gift.
Mm. So like the intent, I just got back from a stay at a short-term rental up north. So like the intent behind somebody's purchase or stay at the home and the memories or the like what they're trying to have those photos, right? Like
Yeah.
how do you go about like creating that, I guess?
Well, let me ask you, why were you going on the trip,
A
if you don't
little
mind
bit
me
of
asking?
business, but I brought my family with me too. So kind of a combination of things.
When you were looking at the property, what made you want to buy it or rent it?
It was on the lake. That was a big one.
And what
Huh?
did the line, did it say anything? Like, did it say
Yes,
lakeside?
that it was in a particular area I was trying to be in because of work. I mean, I brought my kids with me, so it had enough beds. Um,
So
yep,
there's the functionality. Let me ask you, when you're thinking of the listing, do you see one shot, one photo in your head?
yeah,
Or
yeah,
do you
like
see do you see that lake shot?
in front of the cabin, looking at the lake in the background. That's what I see.
Right. Now, everyone, when I have the lakeside cabin that I'm helping somebody promote,
Mm,
it's all about the lake. I'm going to say things like it's 2 minutes from here, it's this, it's this, it's this. The rest of the targeting, that's going to be done by your metrics. Those are things like when you're going through it and you're saying, like, I need this many
hmm.
beds, I need these amenities. These are all things that I can't
For
really
sure.
change. I have a 4 bedroom house. There it is. But if I know that the one thing that's going to separate me is my house is on the lake and Sally's
Hmm.
house is not. So I'm going to show how close in relativeness to that lake I am, right? And that's going to be the most paramount thing for me
Mm.
to position. It's really just that simple.
Is
It's
it
that simple.
Is it like so with the short-term rentals, you're talking like within the portals that are created on those different platforms, or you're talking kind of independent of that, like capturing attention to that?
I think it goes back to like what you're saying. I need to know why
Hmm.
people would want to go there. A lot of times if it's a 4 bedroom or 3 bedroom house, it's families
Hmm.
or it's larger groups. So let's say we have our social media pillars. One of mine is going to be directed at you. Another one is going to be directed at remote
Hmm.
workers, right? And then another one is going to be directed at group events, and you hit two of them, because you're out there
Hmm.
for work and you have a family. So perfect. That's great. So now I'm talking about how great
Hmm.
the high speed internet is. I'm
Fascinating.
saying that we have a great connection. There's no issues. I'm also going to mention if it's family, I'm going to make sure that the accommodations are there. Let's say it's for little ones, then maybe I even have those plug protectors
Hmm.
and I have a pack and play that's ready to go. I'm speaking to the person that's going to rent this place. And because it's a 4 bedroom, I know a little bit
Hmm.
about what that is going to be. It's not just
Hmm.
Joe who's checking it and really hates the outdoors. You know,
Yeah.
Probably not the person that I'm going to be attracting. Doesn't mean
Hmm.
Joe can't rent. No, Joe can rent. Joe can rent, but I'm probably
So
talking to
being
Matt and
able
his
to
wife.
actually understand those platforms like Airbnb, VRBO, all that nonsense, and understand like the search component within that, or even on Google, I guess, if people search that way. I think that's like a little nuance now that this like short-term rental idea has really created, is people can enter into real estate and have a completely new like like it's a disruption to the real estate market and like hotels and all that stuff, right? But it like within those platforms, if you think you can just like buy the house, put it on this and just like let it run, like you can still fail, right? Like it's not like a sure thing. Hmm.
Many fail. Yeah, definitely. It is not a
So
sure thing. Gone are the days
is
of
it so is it
2021.
like is it going to go away, do you think, the short-term rental side of things?
Well, let's talk about
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota, for example. Minnesota just passed a law that short-term rentals can't have
What?
a
What a stupid
yeah,
rule.
yeah. It's a
What
thing.
about a pool?
Yeah, pools are good. No hot
Who
tubs.
the hell came up with
Explain
that?
it.
That
Well,
is
I can.
fascinating.
Yeah, the hoteliers came up with that. It's kind of like, like the disruption that Uber gave taxis, and so then you had all these lobbyists
Mm.
for taxis, trying to change the laws. This is the same thing for Airbnb, or I'm sorry, for short-term rentals out in Minnesota. They only give so many allowances to people for short-term rentals in certain areas. So in certain cities, there's only so many
Yeah, I
permits that
mean,
they want to give
I know out
out.
by me, like around the lake, like you can't do anything shorter than 30 days. In one, like a few of the cities around the
Yeah.
lake, that there are no short-term rentals because that community decided they didn't want it. So there's becoming more rules now. It's not the Wild West anymore. You can't just like have a bunch of real estate and rent it out to people. So that whole component to it, that like goes back to like the being able to pivot and like understand like, okay, if this is changing, the hot tub with the awesome view is what I was selling. Well, now I got to sell something else and maybe restructure. Like I got to get rid of a hot tub, that's for sure. But so it's really just like the purchasing within these different markets and trying to meet that person somewhere along their journey to accomplishing that and like figuring
Right.
out where a business enters in there. This is a fascinating conversation for me. So all right, so within your business, you're so currently like help me understand why people are paying you. People come to you and like what do they buy from you? A lot of things.
Honesty. A lot of the
Psychology.
time. I know, right?
Yeah.
A therapist? No. Yeah. They come to me because they want a fractional CMO is really what I think it is. They want
Hmm.
solutions, but they they oftentimes just need somebody to give them a path for the dream that they've created and make it a goal, right? And I make it attainable. I make sure that what they are seeing, what their dream is,
Hmm.
I say, here's the path. Here's what you need to do. These are the marketing steps. It's steps 1, 2, 3. We will get through those and we'll move on to the next, and it's a constant game of that. And it's just slowly getting better and fine tuning your message and knowing what is important to you. I mean, even for you, for homegrown hustle, I think that things naturally birth into the direction that they should be. And if you get out of your own way and allow life to be what it is and not what you want it to be, you can really
Mm.
find some beauty in it. And that, I know, seems like, how is that marketing? Because marketing will tell me what people like, because marketing will tell me what's doing well and why it's doing well and
Hmm.
where it's doing well and for whom it is attracting. I think that those are important messages to take and decide to pivot. Like we had mentioned, I with my first business, I had helped them. They were focused so much on lenders, and everything was lenders and compliance for lenders. And I mean, everyone knows lenders have huge compliance needs, but the little broker, if we would create some kind of automated solution for that little broker, we could create something that doesn't need all of these, expensive
Hmm.
attorney-driven solutions with a, attorney in-house. And then they went from, negative and doing pretty badly to $3 million in 1 year because we listened to the numbers. It's a very obvious game of your margins were 5 to 10% when you were doing this for lenders. You were not going to change that because your competitors were marked at A, B, and C. So if I can show you that and say your competitors are here because you have an entire full operation, but they're just one guy and he's just, Albert
Hmm.
from Albuquerque, right? And he's never going to need his prices to be higher. So you're always going to be playing in this area or a short-term rental. Your housing market is dictating your race to the bottom because these three people that don't even have a mortgage on their home or don't really care about how much money they're making, just they all are at $132 a night. That's what dictates the market. So like you had mentioned, if you're no longer able to do the hot tub thing, we need to figure out how to attract a different type of client. So maybe now we're looking for a guest that's a midterm. Well, that's going to be a lot of your remote workers. So let's go that direction, or let's talk to the travel nurses. Let's find those placement agencies that and let's get on a short list for offering them. Hey, I'll give you 10% off of our place if you refer people out that come through your company. These are all things that are dictated by the numbers or the situation, and if you can see it and you can adapt, you will be successful.
But you got to be able to see it. So you kind of help people get to that point. I love it.
That is what marketing is. It's eyes, and then
And
interpreting the data.
being that you're outside looking in as like that fractional CMO, that gives you like even more separation to like ask them questions that maybe people just aren't asking, like they just are overlooking it. I work with a coach, and sometimes like when we're doing our one-on-one session, I'm like, I feel like I kind of feel dumb. I haven't asked myself like that question, like the like I'm talking about trying to execute or get a particular thing done, but like even just like well, does that even matter? Like that question, like does this focus and thought process even like actually matter, or are we asking the wrong question, right? And maybe it's like the pivot of
Right.
focus, um, and what you're thinking about at that particular time in your business. So I don't know. I can go a lot of ways right now, but right now I just want to hear about like where you kind of see your business going, and like what, and obviously you're like a big pivoter, so it could change, but at this point as a CEO, like what's the vision that you're kind of seeing and trying to execute on?
We really just let this
Mm-hmm.
beast grow and in any direction that it seemed natural. So what is on the horizons for Lumos? Probably becoming partners with a lot of the people that I've coached in investments. It looks like me becoming a marketing partner to a lot of these people in ways that I didn't see possible. It also looks like the opportunity that I'm like, there's a lot of investors out there that are brand new that maybe can't afford this one-on-one. So I wanted to figure out a platform that was maybe a little bit more on the vine, right? That could have a group attraction. So we went with the mastermind as our platform, because it's not just me, it's all the questions you don't think to ask, right? It's the things that you don't know that you don't know. And how do you find those? Community, because now you see all these people asking those same questions, all these entrepreneurs in the real estate world in all different directions. And that's what I love about what I've created. Is it's not just a whole bunch of realtors, it's all different types of humans in this world, and they can all make deals even right there on these platforms. They're all learning about marketing. That's really what puts them all together, because marketing is ambiguous to industry. And now I've created this awesome community where you could be making a deal or selling a mortgage, or like there's so many different directions that it can go. And I think real estate should always be about connections and finding connections. So our focus now isn't just to help with our solutions on a one-on-one, but to bring it to the masses and to also bring them.
So can you talk a little bit about how the community part like allows people to kind of accelerate some of what they would learn from you just by being around other people?
Yeah, it's brand new, this community, but so we're just getting started. How you get some of that started? You bring in the right partners. You give
Mm-hmm.
away free spaces to movers and shakers. You find that community organizer
Mm-hmm.
to dump in the right questions. And when you start it getting going, there's actually a really good analogy for this that I was talking to a client about the other day. And said when you're creating, and I used to do a lot of events in my last job, and I would always say, what's funny is if you put out a cake or an appetizer, anything, and you don't take a piece from it, no one touches it. Nothing. No one does. They don't touch it. But if I take one piece out of the pie, everyone goes for it. You know what I mean? You almost have to kind of mess it up. Or like no one wants to go to the
Mm.
buffet first. It's such an interesting thing. And if you think about communities as the same way, you need that person that's gonna go in and ask the question, and then another person's gonna respond to it. And you might have scripted five people to go in there and do that. But now everyone feels at the ready to provide some information. It really is just that simple. I mean, one time there was, you know, how you can heart comments in Instagram. You can heart somebody that says something. Well, I have like 7 Instagrams. So I went in, I made a comment, and then I went through all of my Instagrams and I hearted that comment, right? And then on another, on the same page, but on another photo, I made a comment, same intrigue, but I didn't heart it, not once, right? I just did what I did. It got 16 likes, I think, over the span of a couple of months. The other one is well over 300
Mm.
now that I just put a couple of likes. And this is bandwagon. So we're going back to psychology, but this is bandwagon theory. So if I make it a comfortable place or I make it look like others have engaged, then everyone else feels at the ready to provide. It's an interesting phenomenon that humans have, but yeah, they will jump off that bridge if they see a few do it first. So I think it's really interesting for communities if you get the right people asking the right conversations or questions, prompts. If you get people in there, they will feel more at liberty to share. And the more at liberty they are to share, the more impact that you're going to get because you learn a multitude of things from other people's
Mm.
experiences. And you want to see what their questions are because maybe that guy is at the scalability moment and you weren't thinking about the fact that you don't have any separation from your brand and now you're seeing he is struggling really hard to move himself out of it and he just
Mm.
can't do it, but now you understand that. As a community organizer, it's important to me to make sure that you feel like you can express those things, that you know that this is a platform that you're going to get the right type of feedback. And I think that that's really important when you are creating a community and you want it to be as resourceful for those humans as
Mm.
possible.
So the bandwagon theory is really interesting to me.
Yeah.
Is that's almost like a level of manipulation, but not because it's like just getting people to do something. It's cutting the cake. It's not manipulation. Like even if you don't like the cake, you want somebody to eat it because you don't like cake. You don't want to take the whole damn thing home, right? So if so that thought process behind it, is there a level of like you have to make sure people can't realize that it's just the bandwagon theory taking place? Like a fear of that
Yeah, I mean,
almost?
yeah. Well, think about those products on Amazon that you're pretty sure, like, you're like, wow, 45,000 likes on
Yeah,
this toothbrush. You know how many of those reviews
I
are fake?
don't.
If you actually went in and read them, there are a
Damn.
lot of fake reviews, and they just did it because, well, now everyone else is going to look at
Mm.
this product, because
Gaming the
everyone
system.
did. Or like think about the Devil Wears Prada. That what is it, the Peruvian blue or something. She's like, oh, I don't subscribe to fashion. I'm not into fashion. I don't know if you've ever seen this movie, but there's this moment where Anne Hathaway says to Meryl Streep, and she says like, I unsubscribe. I'm not into fashion. That's not something I like. And where's the line between persuasion and manipulation, right? Because what she said back was that came from this night 2017 whatever runway show, and then it made it through this and then went to Target and landed on your back, and she's like, you are influenced by this. As a matter of fact, we even have a number of it. I know that back in the day when I first started marketing, like 2014 2013, the biggest focus for people was 12 to 15 touch points with your brand, and they will give trust to it. It is now over
Holy shit.
55 touch points with a brand for me to make an impact, any impact. That's remarketing campaigns. That's being on social. That's finding everywhere on every platform because we are constantly hit with
Mm.
shit all the time. I mean, down to, we call it the era of got milk, which means that everything has to be as small as possible, as marginalized and condensed as we can get it. Movies could be 2.5 hours before. Gone are those days. Now it's 30-second clips on YouTube. I mean, they even have a
Mm.
whole new section
Yeah.
of shorts, because that's what's palatable for us. And that's because of marketing. Marketing has infiltrated how we digest
Mm.
information. And now we're
Yeah.
gluttons.
And we like the thumbnail and the first 3 seconds aren't badass. Like I'm going to the next one too. And that like that's so like it really is just so much psychology, and then your ability to take yourself out of it as a business owner and like be able to really like think about that without your own like subconscious kind of impacting it. So that's like a superpower, I feel like. Shout out to marketing directors. So, all right. So if somebody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to get in touch with Lumos or with you directly?
My number, which is all over my website, but it's 602-618-7520 or info@lumoshost.com. That will get you to me and Teresa. So that one's a really good platform. You can go to our website and literally hit contact on any platform there. You can join our mastermind. And if you're in our mastermind, you can send me direct questions, or you like the material and you want to directly apply that to your business, then get into some one-on-one coaching. If you don't want to do it and you want me to do it and I see an opportunity in your business, then let's partner.
Obviously.
There's so many different ways for me to do it. And sometimes it's percentages, because I really believe in the mission of the company, or I love working with them, and that's pretty easy to do with a lot of you Minnesotans.
Yeah.
I've noticed. It's so much fun to be in this demographic. Thankfully to Teresa for bringing so many people, but it's been really great. So there's tons of different ways that I can help, and I'm just trying to expand that by providing as many options financially, to get that support from me, because I really subscribe to Hermosi, where he had said, let's make you a client. You might not be my target because you have to pay me $200,000 a month, but let's make you a client. So information. I don't want there to be ever like this fence between me and the information, because at the end of the day, I am providing financial freedom, or I am at least helping somebody see their dream come to reality. And I think that that's beautiful. So I will try and give as much information and as resources as possible, because I'm a true believer that that's going to come back to me in tenfold.
That's awesome. So one question we ask every guest that we have on here, Sarah, is like, what does the word hustle mean to you in terms of business? Hustle
to me means step 1, 2, 3, and just keep going. Kind of like when you're trying to summit some kind of mountain. It all starts with the step. It's every single step. And I think hustle is not changing the beat. Next step, next step, next step, next step, next step. And it's just go, go, go. But knowing where you're going and making that conscious effort every morning to say, I will get up and I will do this, So for me, hustle.
I love that. That was beautifully put. Well, really appreciate you coming on here, Sarah. A lot of information there. Obviously knows what she's talking about when it comes to marketing and really business in general. So definitely encourage you to reach out. Sarah, thanks again for joining us. Really appreciate you joining us on the Homegrown Hustle. Yeah. Have a great rest of your day.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Matt, for having me. I definitely appreciate it. Again, if you have any other questions or you need to contact me, just please reach out.
Yeah, we'll have all that tagged below too. So thanks again, everybody, for listening. Tune in again. Like us on all the different social media platforms, whichever one's your favorite, and just join the community. We're building something pretty awesome over here. So thanks again. Have a great day. Appreciate it. Nice. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. I appreciate you coming on. Have you ventured up to Minnesota, or you have it planned anytime in the near future?
Yeah, I think I'll be out there.
I mean, it's going to be cold as crap pretty soon. So you only have a few months before you're not going to want to come here. So
I don't do cold.
Yeah. All right. Well, if there's anything I can do to help you out, I know we've talked about some different like training events or stuff like that for real estate. I don't think I've spoke with your partner since then, but if that's still something you want to explore, just let me know and we can kind of have that conversation. But
yeah, in-person trainings are so much fun, and I think that would be a lot of fun. If you have something that you want to partner or bring us out, just let us know. But if you want to create an event together, we're definitely open.
For sure. Sounds good. Well, I'll be in touch. Appreciate you. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks again for joining us on Homegrown Hustle. Our local business community thrives because of the brilliant leaders right here in our backyard. And it's been an absolute privilege to provide them with a platform to share their invaluable expertise. Stay tuned for more insight, wisdom, and inspiration from our local business champions. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Together, we'll continue to nurture and expand our homegrown success stories. Matt Eichmann signing off until our next insightful episode.